Hi, beautiful people. So, I talk a little bit about rage and anger. And this all comes from a very personal place because this is something that I experienced in my own life that I sought out therapy for because it was impacting my life and my relationship. And it got really bad. So, this isn't coming from a place where I did a Google search and so I'd have something to talk about. No, I actually dealt with this and it was really hard and it was really scary. And but I got through it. I'm on the other side. So, I am a firm believer that when we have emotions that we are not taking care of and we are just stuffing them down, I believe they can manifest in really significant, powerful ways. And that could be illness, pain, like my lower back pain right now. Wonder what that means. But if this is something that you're into, then please stay tuned. I'm back with season 2. It's Basement Philosophies, and I'm your host, Brittany. Here, we won't follow the script of the mainstream media. We'll talk about real life, real problems, and now that I'm a new mom, we're going to talk about that too. Welcome back, and I'm so happy that you're here. Let's get to it. Good morning. I'm sorry about last week. In my defense, I don't know if I was sick or I have allergies, which I'm not really an allergy person, but apparently ragweed is a thing. But seeing as like my daughter kind of got it and my sister, I'm thinking I had a cold. So anyways, I didn't feel that bad, but I was congested, so it was like a lot of coughing and sniffing, and I just didn't want that on my microphone because that's gross. So I was just like, let me just take the week off. And not that I took the week off just from my podcast because I was like busy as shit with everything else. So yeah, it was a busy week. I had like 5 new clients at work. That's a lot. And I was totally stressed out. It's so overwhelming. I was like thinking I would write a book to other therapists in progress and just tell them how much internship sucks. But also say, but you can do it, even though I really don't know. Like, can I do it? It doesn't feel like I can. It's going so badly already. So it's so much more than taking care of my clients, which is all I want to do. So it's really, really frustrating because by the time I get home and I want to read and learn about all the things that I want to learn about, I can't because I'm too exhausted or burnt out, or I couldn't imagine looking at another thing and using my brain. Like, just, it is starting to calm down, but ultimately it is all very overwhelming and annoying. What can I say? I'm halfway through the first part. So we just got to get through the first part and then 2 more semesters. And apparently they're a lot worse. So yeah, but I am not even going to focus on that. Honestly, I think the beginning of this semester might be the worst for me. That's what I'm going to go with. That keeps me hopeful. So I'm doing whatever I can. A few of us have started to like bond, I guess. When you're in an online program, at least in my experience, nobody really talks to each other. And then when you start to reach out and finding like the people you vent to, you realize like you're all struggling the same way, which is really helpful. And thankfully, I'm not the only one that's annoyed with my supervisor. I don't love to talk bad about people, but Do all people with PhDs have a chip on their shoulder? I'm just wondering. I just feel like I'm getting a lot of, well, I haven't done this a while, and me this and me that, and I'm, a expert on the topic. Which is funny because in psychology, you never know everything. And there's so many different ways to go. Like what I believe in, what I'm studying, what I'm specializing in. There's some people that are like, I don't agree with that, So it's just, I guess it's all about preference, but you're still never going to know everything. You're never going to be an expert, I don't know. It's just frustrating. I know that I'm new to the biz, but I just know that I'm never going to know everything, and there's always room for growth and change. And that's what I love about psychology, is that it's always evolving. Always. It's a beautiful thing. So that's where we are with school. Coin is good. She is thankfully, I don't want to jinx it, but she's doing a little better as far as sleeping goes. Thank God, because I thought I was going to die. I mean, it was just like, I was not sleeping so hard that I was like waking up, but not really being awake. And I would just wake up in terror and I'd be like, oh my God, that baby's not there. But she was laying right, next to me. I don't know. It was crazy. I mean, I was fighting with my family. Like certain people were making me mad. It was rough. Okay. And I know that had a lot to do with it, but thankfully, she still wakes up at night. I'm under no illusion that she needs to be sleeping through the night. I know I hear that every day of my life, and she should be sleeping through the night. She should be doing this. She should be doing that. I think it just comes with being a mom, all of the advice and people thinking they know best. It's my baby. I'm actually okay with her waking up at night. I'm okay with night feedings. It's some of my favorite things in life. And, and she's a very good sleeper. She only wakes up for a little while, eats really fast, and then goes right back to sleep. It's not a big thing. So, I think she's still young. She needs to eat, and I'm okay with that because she's giving me like 3 hours of sleep. I wake up once, like to feed her, and then we go to sleep somewhere. It's not bad at all. And that's like a full night's sleep for me. I feel great. Way better than I did 2 weeks ago. So she's doing really good. She still doesn't want to roll over. And I don't think it's because she can't. I believe it's the lack of trying. So we spend a lot of time like on the floor and doing tummy time. She can do all the things. She just was like, nah, I'm okay. So I'm trying not to get too hung up on, that. One of my friends, she said, don't get hung up on like the milestones. And she's like, it'll happen, So I'm going to listen to her. I'm not going to stress about it. Being a parent is already so stressful because you always think you're going to fuck up your kid. I get it now. And I just don't want to fuck up my kid, but she's good. She's happy. She's healthy. She's eating. And I think that's the most important thing right now. I mean, she's growing and building the muscle. I mean, she's been holding her head up since she was born. Like, that has never really been a thing. Everybody's just in awe about how she can hold her head up. And I don't know anything about babies. And I was like, oh, babies aren't like this. And they're like, no, not at all. And I'm so grateful because, I don't like to have her where she was so floppy for that long. I don't know. That would have been hard for me, I think. I should have segued into what I was going to talk about earlier. I'm working on my segues, but not good at them. So I'm just going to jump right in to what I originally want to talk about. I always take a moment before I start recording to to make sure I say what needs to be said, to get a message out there that maybe is best for the collective. And also, I don't often know what I'm going to talk about. And I think I've touched on this before, and you can see by the title, I want to talk about anger and rage. And this has come up in my life. That's why I feel like I can talk about it, because you know how new doctors try to make these weird diagnoses? I don't want people to think that since I'm an intern to be a therapist, like I think I'm a therapist. Like, no. I can talk about rage and anger because it happened to me. And it's actually why I went to counseling a couple years ago, because I had a rage problem. And it's crazy because I've never been an angry person. And it got so bad that even like my fiance was like, dude, get some help. And I was like, yeah, I think I need some help. And, you know, the alcohol was not helping. I also had very, very severe depression, like so severe that in the morning, my partner would have to like hug me, hold me, and I would have to have like that skin on skin contact, you know, like babies. Because I couldn't, it was like the co-regulation. I needed the physical touch. It was crazy. I that just came back to me. It was my poor partner. He had to deal with me. But he did. But yeah, it was really bad. I couldn't, and that's when I had a terrible, terrible job. Toxic. People don't understand when you work in a toxic environment, it impacts you physically. And I'm talking like cortisol in your brain, your adrenals always pumping, making you, you know, basically sick. So, you know, you live in kind of like these different states, right? You can live in the, you know, ventral, calm, happy state where you can think clearly and make decisions and be happy. Or, you know, you can just go like straight up dorsal collapse and you are just done. Okay? That's pretty much where I was. Just surviving, coasting, not even really living in my body. And no wonder I was a freaking alcoholic because I was in a horrible place, you know? So step one, got out of that toxic job. And I'm talking, I walked right out of there. And yeah, I lost friends. People still mad at me about that. It was just a bad thing, like real bad thing. And but I had no choice really, because I was headed down a really dark, terrible path. You know, then I had the miscarriage and everything just got real bad. School was like happening, and I remember quitting a class because I just did not care. I didn't have it in me to care. And I ended up retaking it, of course, the next semester. But I was just like, I'm in a really bad place. I need to not do this. And they understood. And they were just like, you know, take care of yourself. And so that's what I started doing, taking care of myself. And here we are. I was trying to like think back to, like, what did I do in therapy? Because I have the most amazing therapist. I miss her. I just want to like book an appointment so I can be like, hey, what's up? I miss you. But I was trying to think, like, what did she do? What voodoo did she do to me that made me get to where I am today? And I'm struggling to remember or even know. So, you know, I know that working with my inner child has been very, very important, but that wasn't tied to the rage. It was tied to more of my self-worth, which, you know, I still kind of struggle with. That's no surprise. It's just all about unlearning and unraveling, and it takes a lot of time. You know, people think that love is conditional. it's how most of us are brought up, and to understand that you're loved unconditionally, it's a hard concept for me. But when I look at my daughter, I love her no matter what. So I'm using that to better understand how to love myself in that way. Because people think in order, to deal with self-worth, we need everybody to love us. But what I'm doing is the inner work so that anything that I need, I can provide for myself. And because I don't want my mood, my state of being to be conditional on anything that is outside of me. Now, I don't even think it's possible to remain in a balanced state no matter what, because we're human. And I think a lot of people think that you're going to get to a place where you're always calm, even when shit's burning down around you. And I don't think that's possible. But I don't know. Like, so many people, especially in the spiritual community, you hear them talk about like transcending human emotion, and I don't understand that, and I don't think that's our purpose here. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's attainable. But that's just me, and maybe that's just not my journey. I don't think that transcending human emotion is what my goal is. My goal is, when everything's burning down around me, I don't want to fall apart. I want to still be able to function even if I'm hurting in my insides, if that makes sense. So yeah, I still get angry. Like, I'm pretty sure my practicum is making my blood pressure so high. Like, and it's not the practicum, it's the people I'm dealing with. And by people, I mean person. And it's just, it is true. Like, if I'm angry, I will say something, and I guess that has been misconstrued as not being professional. But I really struggle with people thinking I need to respect them when I am not being respected. It's kind of like a two-way street. We're all adults here. Why are you treating me like I'm a dumbass? Kind of thing. And so I get shitty, I guess. I get an attitude. And I think I'm always going to be like that. I'm sorry. Like, don't be shitty and I won't be shitty. It's kind of like, I know that sounds childish, but if you're going to demand respect, maybe make sure that you are, in fact, being respectful. So, that's just a little tip, but yeah, so anger, rage, that was like uncharted territory. So, when I go into therapy, I usually know what's gonna happen in there. I usually know, like, I have an idea. Okay, yeah, I'm depressed, whatever. It will be mega helpful just to, talk to someone and maybe stop making shitty health choices in my life. That will be helpful. So, but when it came to rage and anger, I was just like at a loss. That was like uncharted territory for me. One, I wasn't comfortable being angry. I didn't think I should be angry because I was like very into like kindness and compassion and forgiveness back then. And I laugh because I'll tell you why. But and then I just wasn't comfortable being angry. And I was never angry. I was never an angry person. But it turns out I was an angry person, and I was just like really holding on to a lot of anger. But in an effort to forgive and get to a better place. So in other words, I was spiritually bypassing the anger part and trying to forgive, make excuses for people for their behaviors and be like, well, they were just going through something or whatever it is that I would say. And, because I wasn't comfortable being angry. And what happened, because I wasn't comfortable being angry, I would start drinking wine because wine made me happy, or beer, whatever. That I'd drink all the beer and wine so I wouldn't have to feel. But then what would happen? The anger would come out in a very unhealthy way. And I wasn't integrating the anger by getting it out when I was wasted. So it was just this very destructive loop that I was in until, of course, I went and got some help. And I think it's not that I couldn't have helped myself, because I think we all can. I think we all are our own doctor kind of thing. But sometimes we need help navigating things that we are not familiar with. And for me, that was anger. And my anger was so repressed that it turned into rage. And it was hard because you think of rage and you're just like, I'm so mad. But under all of that anger and all of that rage, what was I? I was really sad. I was really disappointed in the people in my support system. I was very heartbroken. I was grieving the loss of a friend, things like that. It was a lot of things under my anger and rage. But in order to get to the sadness and the embarrassment or shame or whatever I was feeling, or the guilt, in order to get to all of that, I had to channel my rage. And before I tell you how, because that's ultimately what was, I don't like to use the word cure, but that's ultimately how I got deeper with my emotions. But it's so funny, I believe like our society is, especially women, and I know it annoys a lot of people, but I think this is more towards women, because just like men who aren't supposed to cry, who aren't supposed to be upset, who are supposed to be manly and they don't have tears, and if they cry, they're babies or whatever. And I don't believe that, of course. And I believe, for women, it's the anger. If we're angry, we're a bitch. If we're angry, we're difficult, We're not allowed to be angry because it means something if we are. It doesn't matter if someone really pisses us off. It doesn't matter. It just makes us difficult, or bitch or psycho or crazy, whatever, whatever it makes us, just like how moms, they're the most majestic, miraculous, beautiful creatures when we're pregnant, but when we have the baby and we're taking care of the baby along with everything else in our lives, it's the end of the world when we admit that we're tired. It's basically like that. Of course we're tired, we're human, and we have to do everything most of the time. And so when it comes to anger, women, it's like frowned upon. Pretty much. I know it was with me. And not only was it frowned upon, I thought, well, I shouldn't be angry, But the truth was, I really was angry. And I just kept pushing it down because I was like, no, it's not right that I'm angry. It's always, I just thought about all the ways that it was wrong about being angry, about all the stuff I was angry about. And, a lot of that was after my sister's husband died, and my entire life changed, and me and my sister were pretty much in that together. There wasn't a lot of support on the outside. My partner wasn't supportive. It's like our family and friends weren't supportive. It's just everybody kind of turned their backs on us, and me and my sister were just kind of in it together, and everybody moved on with their lives. And I get that happens, but it just works a little differently for most people, because most people will move on with their lives, and in an effort to, like, I don't want to say people don't move on because they forget. They move on because they have to. But for me, my life was just my sister, and that was just another thing, another learning curve, because I gave up my entire life for my sister. And ultimately what happened was I got burned out and I got really sick. I got really angry and I just wasn't dealing with it. And I was lashing out at people that maybe didn't deserve it. And I think, and I say my partner wasn't supportive. We were still kind of new. So, it was hard to navigate. And I think, after a year into it, you think, well, somebody should be over this. But that's just not how grief works. When somebody loses someone, like their husband, especially in a very traumatic, sudden way, you don't get over it. You learn to live with the grief, and you learn to navigate it in healthy ways, and your life gets easier, but you don't ever get over it. And I think more people need to understand that. And if my sister would just come on the podcast, she could talk a little bit more about that. But ultimately, the whole thing was a learning experience, and I have my side, she has hers. But ultimately, during that is when I developed anger, the rage. And it wasn't towards anyone. It was just me not handling my own emotions. I was ignoring them. And I'm totally a person that believes our emotions are something that we can learn from. So when it comes to anger is one of the most, I think, optimistic emotions that we can learn from. Anger kind of shows us, our boundaries and what doesn't feel right to us. And it's a real energy of change, in my opinion. So we can learn so much from that. But, just as I feel like all of our physical ailments mean something, I feel the same about our emotions. But I feel like physical ailments have a lot to do with what we aren't paying attention to, all the unconscious stuff, all the things we run from and ignore. Like, why is my lower back hurting so effing bad right now? Could it be because I'm a mom and my baby's growing? Or maybe there's something there that I'm ignoring. And I know there's a few things that are there. And I know I need to do the work to face those things. There are just some very uncomfortable emotions. And there are some things that are making me angry. And I keep ignoring them because it makes me feel so uncomfortable. There are a lot of questions I have, a lot of unknowns that I kind of left behind when I left the city. And like back when I was pregnant, and it's starting to really wear on me. And I can't help but think that maybe that's part of the reason why I have such bad lower back pain, because I am ignoring that stuff. And I've tried to sit with it, but I think I need to do more. And, I can remember, while I can't remember really exactly what was happening in my therapy sessions, all of that felt so long ago. It wasn't that long ago, but I can remember, I started to do my yoga again. I started to really take care of myself. But I remember there was a lot of screaming, a lot of crying, a lot of punching the pillows. And when I say screaming and crying, not at anyone, I was taking the time to basically allow myself to do these things. And it's sort of like, have you ever been so sad? I remember being depressed, I would in the very beginning, I'm so sad. And I would run as fast as I could because I was just trying to run the sadness out. And while the sadness is still there, I still kind of feel like I burned off something during those times because I think we start to carry so much. You know, we can look at our bodies as a map. And it really is like, I feel like it really is a map to our entire lives. You know, we can see a scar from the accident that happened, you know, or, you know, we can have a injury or a old pain come back during the winter months and we can remember what happened then. You know, it's like all of these reminder of what our lives are. And it's just, I just look at our bodies as that way. Now, I think we can heal our bodies to a certain extent, which is what the work that I do, but it is not easy. It is not easy to face emotions that we don't want to face. And a lot of us have to be willing to do the work. And unfortunately, when people come to therapy and they realize that is what you need to do, they shut down. You know, therapy is so much more than venting, while venting can help. So if you're struggling with anger, in my experience, is not medical advice, of course, but you know, I'm not a licensed professional, just putting that out there. I'm talking about my experience. You know, you can vent, but you have to make sure like you're not venting to everyone and everything. And I have a bad habit of doing that. Emotionally dumping on everybody because I don't always get the validation. So I overcompensate by, I think, going to everyone. At least that's my theory. And so something that I need to work on is learning to validate myself. Like if I'm feeling a certain way, then that's enough. It's true. It's valid. It's true because I'm feeling it. And that has to be enough for me. And why it's not, I have no idea. But it's just all part of learning who you are and learning from the emotions that you feel. So if you're feeling angry, instead of, you know, I think, you know, and I think it's our go-to is, I shouldn't be feeling angry, because we're taught to be kind and loving and compassionate, especially in the spiritual community, which is just a mess, honestly. So I think that if you're going the spiritual route, focus on what's in and don't go on Instagram. I would say read books from older teachers, not the newer ones. It's just so corrupt. Everything is so corrupt. It's so annoying. But in my opinion, when you start to feel angry, instead of, you know, autopilot responses, I shouldn't be angry, take the time and ask yourself, why am I angry? Like, why am I feeling this? I'm feeling angry, you know, and just start to give it space to, you know, be. I always like to liken it to giving this emotion center stage, putting the spotlight on it and letting it have its moment. You know, and that's hard for some people. So if it's hard for you to even do that, you know, it's helpful to learn, like, okay, why did I just get angry? What am I feeling? What are the thoughts that I have? And if you can't really make sense of what you're feeling like in your mind or what you're thinking, just focus on your body. Focus on, you know, like, how do I feel right now in my body? Like, is my chest tight or my heart pounding? Am I hot? Like, why do I know that I'm angry right now? You know? And it's so helpful to get to know the emotion, and it can teach you so much. And, you know, that is why I think it's so important. And it goes for all emotions. And I think that's why it's so important to get to know them instead of running from them. And, you know, and if it's too hard, then that means you're just not ready yet. And that's okay. And you can focus on something else. You know, if we're dealing with rage, this is often impulsive. And for me, I had to eliminate the alcohol and the triggers and all of that, whatever they might have been. I can't remember now, but I know alcohol didn't help me. But I also knew that there was a lot of anger I was not taken care of, I was just repressed. I was just like pushing it down. So much repressed anger, which is why there were a lot of tears and a lot of screaming. And once I could do all of that, once I did that, the rage was no longer there. Was I angry? Yes, but that impulsiveness was not there. The urge to drink and rage out was not there. It subsided. And, I was just so obsessed with this, facade of kindness and compassion and forgiveness that I was not being honest with myself. I believe that forgiveness is very powerful, but I think forgiveness is often misunderstood. We don't forgive people to forget what they've done. And I don't even think you can forgive someone if you're still so angry, if you haven't felt that anger. It's just not possible. In order to, I think, truly forgive someone, you have to feel through that anger, because otherwise you're still going to be carrying it and not even realize it until, of course, it manifests in some other different way, right? You can still be compassionate and empathetic towards someone that you're furious with. You can do that. People think that being angry makes you a bad person. I mean, you can act out in unhealthy ways, do bad things, hurt people. And that's what you want to avoid, right? But we can avoid those things as long as we're acknowledging and being honest about what we're feeling. And it's not easy. Even I don't like to be angry. But it's hard work. And it's going to come out sooner. It's just like the truth. You know how they say the truth is going to come out. Well, the same thing will be going on with your emotions too. You can run and hide as much as you want, but everything's going to follow you. And I know it's infuriating. It's like my sister's always like, I'm going to run away. And I'm like, you can run away. And while I am coming too, let's go to a beach. All of this shit that we want to run away from, it's still going to be there. So just keep that in mind the next time you want to run away. So yeah, that's my spew on rage and anger. It truly can be beautiful. It truly is a catalyst for change. It really shows us our worth too. Now, I'm not talking about people that get angry about every tiny little thing and everything is so triggered and, oh my God, the world needs to change because my feelings are hurt. No, I am still someone who thinks you need to be accountable, of course. But when it gets to the point where we are repressing our anger, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that are not comfortable with anger, the people that are running from anger, the people that, think they shouldn't be angry. That is what I am addressing here. I'm not addressing all of these people out here now who use their feelings as an excuse to be an asshole. No, that's not what I'm doing here. So, yeah, that's where we are. I hope that you're all doing good. Sorry about last week. Hopefully next week will be good to go. I'm praying that my trajectory continues on the way it is because now it feels doable. Now I don't feel I'm overwhelmed, but it's not like something I can't do. So hopefully I'm getting on the right track. As always, if you have any questions or you just want to say hi or you need me to pray for you, please contact me and let me know and I will make that happen. I'm happy to hear from you. I love hearing from you. So let's connect. Thank you so much for being here as always. And you can find me on Instagram, my website, basementphilosophies.com. Not a lot goes on there, but I do write. Writing is important. Oh, I should say that. Let's journal. Journal is a good way to channel anger. Writing a letter to somebody that you're angry with and never sending it. Also a good tool. A lot of people think it's stupid, but you'd be surprised. But also just getting outside, connecting with nature is a really simple way. Removing ourselves from whatever's making us angry for a time and going for a walk can be really helpful. Get some fresh air. But I will talk to you all soon. Thanks.